So to start, I think the top metrics we've got here are sort of web traffic, leads, MQLs again, meetings booked, meetings attended, and SQOs. So you can sort of, using, I'd say, this structure, you can really sort of start to work out how much revenue a campaign is looking to create, and like its general success in sort of creating leads and meetings for the business. I don't know if there's anything that you think is missing here, or which ones you would like say sort of your top metrics when you're looking at campaigns.
I mean, I wouldn't worry so much about web traffic. Like, it's not like there may not even be a campaign that directs traffic to your website. It might be something different. But for me, it starts MQLs down. But I know that, you know, with depending on the campaign type and what we're trying to achieve, again, it does depend on what this looks like. But I guess a bigger tip is, whether it's this or something else, agree what it looks like and what you're going to be measuring and tracking and working towards before you launch that campaign. Because I think that's really important, and then consistently reporting back on that and iterating. So something we've done, we kind of have moved away from the whole plan a campaign for 4 weeks, set it live, hope and pray it works, and then see that, you know, metrics are kind of not where you'd want them to be. I sort of mentioned before, we're working these 2-week sprints now, and it's all tied to key targets and metrics that we need to move the needle on. And we'll build a campaign around those, and it'll get live within that 2 weeks, and then we'll look at the results the 2 weeks following. So we're really closely iterating and learning from things, so speeding up that cycle.
Yeah, I think for us, the definition of campaigns has evolved greatly. I know that I think, you know, when I first got here, it was only demand campaigns that were, you know, and we were doing sprints like that. And that's an extremely efficient way to do things, really, cost-wise. Again, as we've matured and we are being pressed to do larger campaigns, for us, a campaign has a very specific goal. It might be engaging a portion of our target account list. So how many accounts have we engaged? How many have we got to? I mean, sometimes web traffic could be, right? In that instance, when you're like, you know, if we have a tier 1 account list, like out of the past quarter, how engaged have those accounts been on our website? And understanding just that level of engagement, even outside of, you know, booking meetings or things like that, kind of more direct ROI. How many people from these accounts have we got to visit our website? When you're dealing with the enterprise, you're trying to engage with a number of different stakeholders. So maybe your goal is, we don't want to engage with a ton of accounts. We just want to engage with 100 contacts at this one account or this set of 10 accounts. So it's campaigns can have all different types of goals. These are all valid metrics to track to, but there's even more from a brand standpoint as well, too, which I'll talk about in a couple slides.
Right.
I think that's touched really nicely on that question around what is the campaign, like how do you define that? I think it's going to depend on the size of business you are, like what your goals are as a company, what you're trying to feed into as a marketing team as well. But campaign is a tactic initiative that you undertake as a marketing team with a goal in mind that you can then track, I guess, as a simple, like that could be that simple.
It's a really good question, because there's so many different ways that you could define it. We have actually tried to focus on just having kind of one overarching campaign that we're focused on at a time, and calling the other things that come down from it programs to support that campaign objective through different channels. So that's a really good question on how you define a campaign. I think there's no out-of-the-box answer for it. But I think as long as you have that clarity and consistent language throughout the team, and everyone understands what that campaign goal is, then that's what matters. So it's not about so much what the definition is, but how well it's socialized and well understood among the team.
Yeah, that's a perfect point.
Yeah, and then actually, I think the next slide we talk about sort of vanity metrics, but really, I suppose these are depending on, like you said, where you're, and like what you want your campaign to be. These could be some of your main metrics as well. I mean, if you're looking at it, like you said, from a pure demand perspective in generating leads and revenue, maybe you'd look at these as sort of like pointers towards whether you're going to generate those MQLs or SQOs, but maybe you're actually only looking for your podcast like audience and listen time, and maybe you're only actually looking for gaining new newsletter signups. Like, it depends entirely on what you're trying to achieve. So actually move on then to Jurek to sort of go into and explain a little bit more about SalesLoft's dual funnel approach to measuring campaigns.
Yeah, so this is my professional graphic design interpretation of two funnels. So there you go. We do have two pretty distinct businesses, types of customers that we serve at SalesLoft. On the commercial side, you have your growing companies, your rapidly growing kind of organizations, and smaller organizations that will generally come to our website and be like, hey, can I get a demo? Can I get 2 seats? I use SalesLoft at this other company, but now I want to use it over at this company. What's the quickest way I can get my hands on it or decide? That's a common interaction on the lower end of our market. And it's a very healthy portion of our business, and we love those customers and how they come in. But you really have to focus on both funnels. We focus on delivering a world-class experience. That's the first thing. But on the lead side, it really is about controlling the conversion rates through those different traditional metrics that we've been talking about today. Making sure that the inbound SDRs are able to use their time effectively and efficiently. You want to be able to make sure that you have a well-staffed enough department. If you're having a lot of demand, you want to make sure that you can have that demo go off in the next couple of days, and they don't have to wait a week, because they might just go somewhere else, probably will. In order to drive that volume, we really focus media campaign spend on demand-based campaigns, traditional, MQL generating campaigns. On the account side, it's a totally different selling motion on the enterprise funnel. So the account funnel for enterprise reads more like, this is a targeted account. This account has become engaged. This account's become highly engaged. And now we have an opportunity open with them. So it's much more, it's kind of like plain English ways of speaking about accounts. Some people use, MQAs, marketing qualified accounts, as another metric as well, which is totally valid. So these metrics are more focused on engagement at the account level. How many, rather than, like I said, how many demos we pull in, how many people at that account in our target personas are we engaging with? So how are we helping the enterprise sales team to interact with more individuals that might be of influence during that deal? So that's a primary goal for us with account-based campaigns, and still heavy on the demand side, in order to maintain that cost efficiency. But we also layer in traditional advertising, impressions-based, retargeting and display, in order to stay top of mind for these individuals as well. It's just when you've got two fundamentally different sales motions, you have to create an appropriate marketing motion to serve that part of the sales organization. Like I said earlier, if you do it wrong out of the gate, it can have bad consequences. So you want to make sure that you collaborate with them directly. Things like will pop up like, what do you do with a lead that comes in from an enterprise account? It might not want to route that to an inbound SDR. It might want to route that directly to the person on the enterprise team who owns that account, so they can decide how they want to engage in a complex sales cycle. So when you have these two businesses going, you just have to make sure that they can not only operate as their own efficient funnel, but that they can kind of interplay between them as well, if that makes sense. So that's kind of our dual funnel approach, and we just it's pretty simple but effective.
Great. How actually, out of interest, then, how do you measure sort of the engagement on the account level? Is that done through scoring, I imagine?
Yeah, so we've actually created a couple of scores. We have a sales engagement score and a marketing engagement score at the account level in Salesforce. So what we'll do is using SalesLoft, we will take data out of Salesforce or out of SalesLoft and pipe it into Salesforce at the account level and aggregate the number of, for instance, meetings, phone calls, emails, social touches into a 1 to 10 sales engagement score. So we can see, this is the level of effort that we are putting forth from a sales perspective on these accounts. We also have a marketing engagement score, and the marketing engagement score takes in that traditional marketing automation style data on individual lead engagement on the website, and how engaged those folks, that account might be through intent data on the site as well, which we have from a number of sources. G2 is one that particularly has some effective data as well in there, also demand base. So that is kind of an idea of how we look at both, both of those types of tactics.